Yes, there are so many openings in the chess world. Talk of the French defense, the Sicilian defense, the Caro-Kann defense, the London system, the Stonewall attack, etc. But I can assure you to say that 90% of your time, you're gonna be playing the King's Pawn game with e4, e5 on move 1. Well, at least that's what you're gonna be playing against most of your opponents. In point of fact, even Chess confirms it, e5 is the most common response by black on move 1, which is what this video is all about, because I'm gonna be showing you some of the beautiful traps in the King's Pawn opening that will definitely give you much confidence to face pawn to e5 by black. And like always, I serve the best for last, so keep on watching up to the end and don't skip any part. So here you start pawn to e4 and your opponent plays e5. The most common response, knight f3 is what I recommend, simply going after the e5 pawn. Knight c6, black defense. Then right here is why I want you guys to be playing pawn to d4, which is called the Scotch game. And I have to mention that this is different from the Scotch egg that you had this morning. Oh, gotta be serious. Here you will see most of your opponents playing e takes d4. I mean, this is the main line in the Scotch. Now when you look into the Chess database, knight takes d4 is the top played move in this position, but I don't want you to be playing that. I want you to be playing bishop c4. And officially, this is now called the Scotch Gambit. At first it was the Scotch game, now it's the Scotch Gambit. And in this position, there are two popular moves that are played by black players, knight f6 and bishop c5. Well, in this video, we are looking at the second most played move, which is bishop c5. We're going to talk about knight f6 in the other video about the Scotch, which I plan to release very soon. Okay, so bishop c5 is what you're going to see most of your opponents doing. If you don't do anything about this pawn, black will be more than happy to hold on to his extra pawn. And again, black has got this sneaky checkmate idea where they expect you to take on d4 and then they don't take your knight right away. Instead, they play queen f6 as if they want to take your knight. And if you make a mistake taking on c6, which is the top played move in the Chess database, what's wrong with people? I can't understand, because queen takes on f2 is checkmate. And this is one trap from black's side, which they always want you to fall into. And so I don't want you to play like that. Instead, after bishop c5, please don't take the pawn on d4. I want you to play this move, pawn to c3. Now, after pawn to c3, believe you me, d takes c3 is by far the most played move according to the Chess database. And this is what we want, because right now, we are going to surprise black by taking on f7. That's a sacrifice. And after king takes on f7, because that was check, we give black another check on d5 with our queen. And after king e8, oh wait a second, you don't have to take this free bishop right away because it's already a dead piece. So why not hang around a little bit? Queen h5 check, provoking black to create some weaknesses along this diagonal, after which we take the dark squared bishop. And if pawn to d6 attacking the queen, we take the pawn on c3, eyeing the rook on h8. If queen f3 blocking the attack, well, we just play queen e3, and next to play moves such as knight c3, bishop d2 castle shot, and life goes on. But if knight f6, again we pin that knight, and from here, believe it or not, we still have a very good game with the same ideas of playing queen d2 castle shot, and life goes on. So that's the first trap that I wanted to show you guys. This is called the Hexo Gambit. Let's move on to the next trap. Now I love this trap because it is not very common, and I can guarantee you that you're going to win a lot of games with this trap, starting with pawn to e4 again. Remember, we are still discussing the King's Pawn game. So pawn to e5 by black. Here you just play bishop c4. Again, eyeing the weak f7 square. Knight f6 is what they play, simply attacking your e4 pawn. Knight c3, and after knight c3, you can check the master's database for yourselves. Knight takes on e4 is what most of your opponents will be playing. Now, what's the idea behind knight takes e4? They have been taught that after knight takes e4, white usually takes back the knight, and then they play pawn to d5, which poses a double threat to either take the bishop or the knight. And Stockfish likes this position for black, which is why I don't want you to take the pawn on e4 after knight takes your pawn on e4. I just want you to play this sneaky move. Again, bishop takes on f7. And this is why they say the f7 pawn is the weakest pawn on the chessboard because it is only defended by the king. So king takes on f7, and only after this move should we take on e4 with our knight, because this time d5 won't come with a double threat. And so by this time most of your opponents will play something like pawn to d6, just trying to create a strong pawn chain on the center. But here you have this move, queen f3 check, and I was shocked to discover that king g8 is the top played move in the Lichess database. Yeah, king e8 is also playable, but there we can just play something like knight g3. We don't have any weaknesses. Remember, black has already lost his right to castle, so it's gonna be playing with the king on the center for quite some time. But anyways, king g8 is what you're going to see most of your opponents playing, which is the top played move. But here is where our deadly trap occurs with knight g5, simply sacrificing the knight for free and also intending to checkmate on f7. And I can guarantee you that most of your lower rated opponents will be taking this knight for free, after which queen to d5 check seals the deal, because the only way to defend is for black to play bishop e6, after which we take on e6 with our queen, checkmate. By the way, this trap can also be played in your rapid games, even in your classical games against lower rated opponents, because even if they find a defense for this trap, they won't just manage to continue playing with their king on the center. Kaspa, it's not everyone who goes pawn to d6. What if they play pawn to d5? Let me show you. So you just played e4, e5, bishop c4 eyeing the weak f7 square, knight f6 and knight c3. Then black just took on e4, expecting you to take back with the knight. Then you just surprise them by taking on f7 with your bishop. And after king takes on f7, you play knight takes on e4 first. And black says that, now I got you. Last time I played pawn to d6 and I lost in 3 moves. But now I'm gonna play pawn to d5, attacking your knight. Well, after this move again, I suggest you just go queen f3 and that's check. And believe it or not, once again, king g8 is by far the top played move according to the Lichess database. What's wrong with people? Some things are just hard to understand. And I'm not being rude, I'm trying to teach. King g8 is what they play. Again, here I just recommend you go knight g5, threatening to checkmate on f7. Well, they are going to see this and they are going to play something like queen e8 or queen e7 or probably queen f6, because they don't want to play queen d7 blocking their light squared bishop anyways. But even these highlighted moves are not working. Similarly, if they think they can take your knight for free on g5 once again, here you just play queen takes on d5. Again, it's a mate in 2. Before we move on to another trap, if at all you are enjoying this video, please don't feel lazy to give it a thumbs up. Not to mention that it only takes a few seconds to subscribe to my channel. You can find the link for my channel in the card above, because that's the way you guys encourage me to keep on making more wonderful content. And if you want to take your chess seriously, be sure to check the link for my website in the description down below, where you can purchase my courses at very affordable prices, and also the link for my Patreon page where I post most exclusive content, premium videos, and other extra materials that you won't find on YouTube. Anyways, let's get back into the video and see the next trap. So the next trap is one that occurs in the Italian game. Again, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, defending the pawn. Then here I recommend you go bishop c4 right away. Again, eyeing the weak f7 pawn. Now I know I talked about this line in the video which has just popped up in the card above. I suggest that you watch that too, because it's gonna prepare you for serious games, tournaments and rapid matches. You're going to beat a lot of players, I promise. One thing that I like about the trap that I'm about to show you in the Italian game is that almost all the moves that black plays are the top moves, which will save you more time, by the way. E.g. bishop c5 is what everyone plays. That's the top played move in the Masters database and in the Lichess database. And here is why I want you guys to play pawn to c3, playing in the ponziani style, but this is called the classical variation. By the way, this is what all the top super GMs play nowadays. Here you will see black playing knight f6 again, which is the top played move according to the Masters database and the Lichess database. Now if you want to enter into the lines of the Gyoko Pianissimo, you can still go pawn to d3, you castle short, pawn to h3, and start finding the ways in which you can put your queen's knight on f5, e.g. something like knight d2, knight f1, knight g3, knight f5. But anyways, let me just show you the trap that I wanted to show you. Here you just go pawn to d4. It's also been played at master level. And again, just like I told you, e takes d5 is by far the top played move, which we want to see on the board again. Because here we have two options. We can either take the pawn on d4, or we can simply play pawn to e5. I like both moves. Let me show you first what happens after pawn to e5. I'm sure by this time you already know what happens after black plays knight g4. Yeah, again, you can sack on f7 with your bishop, and after king takes on f7, you go knight g5 check, and after king g8, hey, hold on. You don't take the knight when you have something better, like queen b3 check. And after knight d5, you take with %. There is absolutely nothing that black can do here to save the game. For example, if king f8, there is a mate on f7 coming. So black has to play the only move, bishop e6. Again, we take the bishop with check, and that's how we met on the next move. And that's one advantage of playing pawn to c3 on move number 4. Let's go back and explore other responses. Okay, now we are looking at the trap in the Ponziani opening, which begins after pawn to e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6 defending the pawn, and then here we go pawn to c3. Now this is called the Ponziani opening. The difference with this opening is that you haven't yet played bishop c4, and so you are open to more options. I like playing this in classical tournaments also. It's also played at master level, so it's quite a good opening as well. Now, in one of my previous videos, which has popped up in the card above, I covered the line where black plays knight f6. You can check that out. You're going to see how to handle that. But another common move which is so annoying to see is pawn to d5 right away. Well, here I just recommend that instead of taking, just go queen f4, pinning the knight to the king. There's nothing that black can do apart from playing a sensible move like pawn to f6. The problem with f6 is that it creates some long-term light square weaknesses in the long run. And because of that, you're going to see most of your opponents playing d takes e4 instead. After which I recommend you take on e5 with your knight, attacking black's knight on c6 twice with your pieces. So bishop d7 is the first move that you're going to see them playing. Here I recommend that you just take the bishop. And after queen takes, you take the pawn on e4 with check. Most of the times they'll play bishop e7, after which you go d4. Count how many pawns you have. You are up a pawn than black. You have 7 pawns against 6, which is suffice to win the game. Knight f6 may be played. You just play queen f3. If queen e6 check, you go bishop e3. Knight d5, pin the knight. And the plans are simple. Next you go knight d2, castle short, and life goes on. Well, going back, after pawn to c3, the Ponziani opening, and black plays d5, then you go queen f4, my recommendation, d takes e4, then knight takes e5. Well, instead of bishop d7, you will see some of your opponents going queen d5, which is the top played move even in the Masters database. Queen d5 is the top played move. I was shocked to see this, but wait a second. Black thinks he's threatening to take your knight and at the same time defending his knight on c6. But here you have this tricky move. You take the knight on c6. If queen takes on c6, you have bishop b5 pinning the queen to the king, and black should just resign. But if they take with their b pawn, here you have this sneaky continuation, bishop c4 attacking the queen. And after queen d6, there are many ways to kill a rat, but one of the great ways is to go pawn to d3, and here I can guarantee you that most of your opponents will take this pawn on d3, after which you first secure your king by castling short, making sure that there is no any threat that is going to come your way or any checks. And again, just like I mentioned, knight f6 is the top played move, which is another beauty of this opening. You're just going to be seeing top played moves. Now here is where I like playing this move, bishop f4, simply giving up my dark squared bishop. Look, there is no piece which is defending this bishop. Or is that really true? No, because if queen takes on f4, the plan is not to take the c6 pawn and win the rook, but to take the f7 pawn with check and then win the queen. So that's one beautiful trap that you can find in this line. Even if the queen doesn't take our free bishop, let's say if they just play something like queen d7, they know this trap and it seems you are down a pawn for nothing, well, just take black's pawn on d3. Again, it looks like your bishop on d3 is a free bishop. If they take, well, it's now the rook which suffers and the game is over. Okay, so by now, I am sure you are now very much confident to face black's e5 response after one e4. Well, I mean, this is the best way of learning how to play openings, by studying some opening traps, because that will inspire you to start playing that particular opening. Listen, when I'm showing you these traps or tricks, I'm not saying they are going to be happening most of the times, but these are just ways to inspire you to start playing these openings. I mean, even if things don't go your way, you still have some great chances to come back into the game because you already know what you are looking for in that particular opening. Alright, so this is the end of this video. If at all you liked this video, don't forget to hit the like button. Remember to subscribe to my channel for me to continue serving you better. Share this video if you can. Check out the link for my website in the description down below, where you can purchase my courses at very affordable prices. That is if you want to take your chess seriously. And there you also find the link for my Patreon page, where I post some of the premium videos that you won't find on YouTube, extra materials for beginners, and other study PGNs that you are going to enjoy. So thank you so much for watching my video. Until next time, bye bye.